Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at a new Munchlax card. And yes, I know this is 3 videos in quick succession, but what am I supposed to do? There were 3 new cards revealed today, and I've just got home from work. I'm doing my best, ladies and gentlemen. I'm doing me best. Munchlax, it's a baby Pokemon. No hey Nick here. This is an actual factual baby Pokemon. The kind of which are apparently making a very big comeback in the Pokemon TCG. They are very well themed. We'll have a look at all of the rest of them. Just a quick reminder at the end of the video. For anyone wondering, it's been a long time since we had a Munchlax. It has, in fact, by the time this comes out, 10 years. The last time we got a Munchlax was in May 2009 in Rising Rivals, and this set will be coming out in August 2019. So this is the first Munchlax that we're going to have in 10 years. Yowza, ladies and gentlemen. Yowza. Is it any good? Well, if we start off having a little bit of a look at the basics, we can see that the HP is not terribly high. It's 60 HP. Now, on the one hand, that is low. On the other hand, you don't have a weakness, which really helps. No weakness is awesome. And also, you can be grabbed with Professor Elm's lecture, so not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but it could be oh so much worse. We also have no retreat cost here. So, okay, 60 HP is very low, and it's a colourless Pokemon, so you're not hitting weakness, and there's no extra tricks or any of that. But no retreat cost, no weakness? I can get on board with this, ladies and gentlemen. I can get on board. Now, our translation does come from the lovely David Hochmann over at RappelmannTCG on Facebook. And essentially, it, very much like the baby Pokemon, has an ability and not much else. And the ability reads, once during your turn, you may flip a coin. If heads, put any card from your discard pile on top of your deck, but whatever happens, your turn ends. So you end your turn by flipping a coin, and if you flip a heads, you get to recover any card from your discard pile, and then put it straight on top of your deck. Now, it is on top of your deck, not actually into your hand, and it's the end of your turn. More on that in a moment. But you get any card back. Now, this is an ability, not an attack, so there are no Victini shenanigans going on here, ladies and gentlemen. It is a proper 50-50 chance. You can't really improve it, which is a little bit upsetting. And it doesn't go into your hand, it goes on top of your deck. Now, in terms of drawing it, it's really not that difficult. If you can get 3 or fewer cards in hand, you can use Oranguru, but this is irrelevant. You'll top deck it next turn. You put it on top of your deck, your next turn starts, you draw it. So you are very much fixing your top deck. And that, of course, means that your opponent can take advantage of this. So, for instance, we are getting the new Diglett coming soon in Unbroken Bonds. And when you discard that using the supporter card Giovanni's Banishment, which lets you discard 2 undamaged Pokemon from your bench, yeah, you get to discard the top card of your opponent's deck. So if you use Munchlax to fix the top card of your deck, your opponent can come along and be like, tee-hee-hee, and then just discard it using something like Diglett, which is a little bit of a pain. That is a risk you take. It does go on top of your deck. It does not go into your hand. There are significant downsides associated with this. It would be better if it went into your hand. So now that we've got that out of the way, this is great recovery. Like, seriously over-the-top good recovery. Because, as it stands at the moment, we lost Special Charge. And we lost Puzzle of Time. And they were our 2 ways to recover Special Energy. We had no way of getting Special Energy back. Now we do. Now, counter-argument here, we do have the Oranguru from Ultra Prism. And as an attack, for 1 energy, you get to put 3 cards from your discard pile on the bottom of your deck in any order. Why would you use Munchlax rather than just using Oranguru? Well, there's a few different reasons. Firstly, it goes straight on top of your deck, which means you're going to be able to draw it really easily rather than having to play something like a Looker or then search your deck. Secondly, You don't have to have this in the active. When you use Oranguru's got to be in the active. That's a little bit of a pain, because if it gets KO'd, you give up a prize. And we'll talk more about this in a moment, but you could have something like Hooper in the active, or Shuckle in the active. Your opponent is unable to actually attack, so they're not taking any prizes, but you're still getting all of your resources back. And thirdly, you don't have to use an energy to do so. You don't have to put an energy onto Munchlax to do this. That's a really good thing. The other thing we can't really get back very easily at the moment is item cards. We are in a format where getting item cards back is difficult because we've lost Puzzle of Time. And sure, you've got stuff like Oranguru, and you can always use stuff like Gardevoir, and in a Gardevoir deck, you'd never want to play this anyway. But outside of a Gardevoir deck, you might. Now, there are some things like supporter cards, where we can just play Pow Pad, or we got the new Mewtwo coming out, and we're like, yeah, let's get them all back, life is good. And things like Pokemon, you've got Rescue Stretcher, so this is not going to be terribly useful. But for things like item cards and special energy, this can be really good. You can get a Crushing Hammer back every turn. You can get an Enhanced Hammer back every turn. You can get a Super Scoop Up back or a Counter Catcher back every single turn. All of these cards which can be used to disrupt your opponent, but they're item cards so you can only put 4 in your deck. Yeah, this comes back. And this is a stage in the game where I need to tell you, or remind you at least, about stall decks. Decks like Hooper, ha ha ha, you can't attack me, you're an EX or a GX. Decks like Shuckle, ha ha ha, you can't attack me, you've got 2 or fewer energy. Decks like Magikarp and Wailord, alright, you can attack me, but I've got 300 HP, it's going to take you a while, and before you KO me, I'm just going to use stuff like Max Potion or Ace Roller. And these decks tend not to attack, or at least not worry too much about attacking. And that's where this comes in, and we mentioned this when we looked at the other baby Pokemon a little while ago. I'll pop a link to that video in the description. These baby Pokemon end your turn. You use this ability, your turn ends. So you need to really take advantage of this in a deck where you're desperate and can't attack, or usually where you don't want to attack. And stall decks fit beautifully here. Except we can go further and say that actually in stall decks, this is like over the top phenomenal. Because in stall decks, you want to recover your stuff. You want to have Max Potion and Ace Roller. You want to have your Crushing Hammer. You want to make sure that you are recovering stuff and using these disruption tricks every single turn. And you're probably not attacking. So it doesn't matter if you end your turn. And yes, it's on a coin flip. 50% of the time, this ain't going to work. But 50% of the time, this is going to work. And when it works, you get any card you want back. And there are going to be other uses for this, of course there are. But generally speaking, this is in a disruption deck. And it could be the thing that gets you the resources that you need in order to keep going and win the game. Of course, there is also the emergency play. There is the next one to draw a Guzma wins. So bench a Munchlax, flip a coin. If heads, you get a Guzma and win next turn. I don't know how often it's going to be used for that, if I'm honest, but it's an option. Now, the other baby Pokemon. Because you can only really use one of these at a time. Now, I've done a video about them where I go into them in lots of detail. I'll pop a link in the description. But Clever lets you, and they all just have an ability, flip a coin, your turn's going to end either way, if heads do something. Clever, shuffle your hand into your deck, draw 6 cards. Very nice for a little bit of draw power. Tyrogue, put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Little bit of cheeky extra damage. Happiny, heal 60 damage from one of your Pokemon. But if you're playing a stall deck, wouldn't you rather just play Munchlax and grab a Max Potion? That's better than reducing 6 damage counters. I like Happiny and I like Cleffer, and to a lesser extent Tyrogue. I like these in stall decks. But I actually think that I like Munchlax better than any of them. Though I do have to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, It might defeat the object of a stall deck if you keep leaving a Munchlax on your bench for your opponent to Guzma and KO. This is not the easiest Pokemon to use. None of these baby Pokemon are. Because you have to flip a coin. And even if you flip heads, your turn ends. But I really like this. It is good recovery. So for the third time today, I'm going to be giving this between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. Not an every deck card, not necessarily a meta-defining card, but a really useful card in a whole bunch of decks, and I think that sounds fair. But I would be extremely curious to know what you think. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but please do remember the rule. Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about other games that don't have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.